Hi beautiful people, and welcome to this channel. Welcome to another video. And if you're here for the first time, my name is Nelia Kungu. I'm a HR professional, and on this channel I talk about topics on career and professional growth. So guys, if you'd watched my previous video, I had started sharing a series of most difficult interview questions and how to answer them. So if you've not watched that video, I highly recommend that you watch it so you're able to connect with this video that I'm going to share now. So I'd say that I'm running a series of most difficult interview questions and guiding you on how to answer them. In my first episode, I'd shared a list of 7 questions, and also in this video, I am going to share a list of 7 questions, the questions that most candidates consider difficult, and guide you on tips on how you can answer them. So without further ado, let's get into it. First question that most people find difficult is why do you want this job? So when you ask that question of why do you want this job, what the panel wants to understand is your specific interest in that job. And this question can sometimes come in form of why do you want to work for us? They're trying to understand why do you have specific interest in working for that organization. And of course, in answering this question, you're expected to share the specific things that interested you in that job. At this point, really what you need to avoid saying, the way you should not be answering this question is talking more of the financial benefits. Of course, I'm not saying that the financial benefits will be bad. At the end of the day, I know we're all looking for jobs to get money, the financial bit of it. But you really need to stop focusing on the financial needs of the job, and rather answer this job by showing genuine interest in that job. So here is the way in which you can answer, or rather this is what you can consider when answering this question. So number one, you need to consider those things that interested you when you reviewed the JD, those things that you liked about the job when you reviewed the JD. You need to also show passion and enthusiasm for the job that you're being interviewed for. And you also need to show interest in the company by probably speaking about what are their services that you like, what are their products that you like. Then you also need to reveal more knowledge about the company in terms of what are their recent achievements that you've liked. What is it that attracts you to them? Those are recent achievements that they've had that you've liked. You also need to mention how you feel this job aligns with your future career goals in terms of its responsibilities. You also need to highlight how you feel these responsibilities will be able to build your skills and align these skills to what you want to achieve in your long-term career aspirations. So that is how you can ask that question. One thing to take note of is to avoid focusing more on financial gains, but rather show deep passion and interest in the job by highlighting the benefits that you believe you'll get by joining this organization. Of course, aligning their value to your values as well. The second question is that many people find difficult to answer is when they're asked to, when a panel asks you like, tell me something or tell us something that is not in your CV or resume. I know this can be a question that can really seem awkward and maybe difficult to answer, because you'll wonder then why do they want to know something that is not in my CV, and why is even something that is not in my CV or resume related to this job. So the whole reason why an employer may ask that question is to have a feel of your personality and character. So this question seeks to test your personality and character, and whatever it is that you may be doing outside work, or whatever it is that you've been able to do within your work that is not captured in your CV but may be beneficial to this role. I mean, we all do a lot of things outside our work life that makes us who we are and that builds us to be able to perform on those jobs. So, for instance, if there's a project that you're working on that could not necessarily be related to your work or could not necessarily be in line of your work, but it is able to help you build the skills that you need to deliver, or you need to be good at your work, like maybe building courage, making you more sociable, you're making you to be able to work with people. So again, if you're able to mention and tailor that to what the job wants, then at least you give the employer or the panel a glimpse of how it feels to work with you, or how it will feel for you to work with them. So this question is looking for your positive traits, and also looking to test your what motivates you and your general goal in life, which really matters also a lot for you to be able to deliver well in your job. So again, this question, when you're answering it, you need to talk about something that you did outside work, or something that you did in your previous job that you're not able to capture in your CV. Let's say in your previous job, and again, I'll give an example of working on a project. You might have worked in a project that was not directly in line with what you're being interviewed for, but was beneficial. Maybe you're supporting another department. So if you're able to bring it out clearly and link it to how whatever project that you're working on, or whatever it is that you're doing, has been able to shape you and build a specific skill that you need for this job you're being interviewed for, then again, you at that point, you're really able to impress the panel. Question number 3, guys, that most people will find difficult. Give me an example of a time when you showed initiative. So it sounds like a very general question, because you'll be wondering maybe showing initiative where and how. So this question of whether give us a time of when you showed initiative is trying to test your ability around being self-motivated, self-starter, someone who is able to see an opportunity and chip in to give a solution, even if it is not your work. Someone who is not the type of person who will say, you know what, that is not within my JD. Yes, I know it is not within my JD, but I'm able to step up and go ahead and offer a solution to a problem that maybe I may not even be appraised on. So that is what this question seeks to know. And how you should answer this question is be able to point out a specific time when you're able to identify an opportunity or something that needed improvement. So for instance, you could say, maybe let's say within your department, let me say like you have a machine or a printer, and of course, if you're not in IT, or if you're not in maybe property and maintenance, if you're not the one in admin or maintenance of the property, then you'll say something like, if the printer or maybe the machine that is being used within your department had an issue, then you're able to step up and try to fix it before actually getting to call an expert in that area. Or if you're working on a project, let's say maybe an example, like if you're working in a project with people that you felt did not fully understand that project. Maybe you have a new hire or new hires who have joined your team, and you're working on a task, and maybe at that time they are not able to fully work on that project. You're the one who has the organizational knowledge, understand the organizational processes. Then you're able to step up and maybe take the lead, even if you're not the project leader. So this question also really seeks to test if you're somebody who can work independently, again, without being followed or without being told, do this and do that. Fourth question that most people find very difficult to answer, and sometimes people will be asked and they get stuck, is explain the gap in your CV or resume, or why is there a gap in your CV or resume. So the reason that someone can have a gap in their CV or resume, there are so many reasons. Some, there are natural reasons, like maybe someone falling sick, maybe for female workers, someone got a baby and decided to step aside to take care of the baby. So many reasons. Sometimes maybe maybe someone was I would say maybe you were terminated on your previous role, or there was a redundancy. So many reasons. But again, you find naturally most people shy off from answering this question. So when you're asked about why is there a gap in your resume, you should go straight forward and say the truth. Number one, you really need to be positive about it. Whether you were terminated, it was a redundancy, you left to take care of a sick child or a sick family member, you left to take care of a complicated maybe a complicated pregnancy, whatever reason, I really advise you be very authentic and very truthful about it. You need to be very positive about it and show how it benefited you. So for instance, if you took time to maybe take care of a sick person, or if you took care of a sick person or a sick child, then you can actually show what is it that maybe you are doing within that time. I find most of the times, maybe when you're home or not in full-time commitment, you may have a lot of time for personal growth. Like you could maybe be doing courses online that have really enhanced your skills. So just to show that by the time you're actually coming back to employment, you're even a better person than you left. And again, on cases of redundancy and on cases of maybe if there was a restructure and your jobs were replaced by processes or the machines or other technology that was introduced, please be truthful about it, because it was not your fault. If for instance you left because you decided to take maybe a VR, please also be very truthful about it. The whole essence is to be truthful about it, say it as it was. And the one that people fear most is when you're terminated. When you're terminated based on maybe a gross misconduct from your previous employer, I still insist you be truthful about it, because with the background checks that are going to be conducted, it will definitely come out. So you need to be truthful about it, and if it was your mistake, be positive, take ownership, and say what you learned from it. So that actually shows that you're ready to bounce back and you're ready to learn from your mistakes, and probably you're not going to get yourself in the same mess again if you get a new job. So don't go beating around the bush about it, trying to lie and maybe trying to fabricate a story. Always be truthful and very authentic. All right. On to the next question, that is the fifth question. So question number 5 is, what is your salary expectation? Can sometimes be asked like, how much should you pay, how much would you want to be paid if you get this job? I know, guys, this question is quite controversial considering how people perceive it. I know most people don't like being asked this question, but let me begin by telling you why an employer will ask this question. So again, remember, in each and every role that is being filled, or in each and every hiring process, there's a budget for each and every role. So again, the employer wants to assess, or rather know, if your salary expectation is aligned to the role's budget, which I think is very, very key to aid the recruitment process. But most candidates don't like being asked this question. So when you ask this question, you should not take offense. And by the time you're going to an interview, I perceive and I advise that you ought to have rather done an intensive research on the pay for that particular job. You ought to have understood what is the market range in terms of what that role pay, and even go deeper to understand in terms of your experience, the level of your experience, the type of your industry, how much does that role pay in your industry. So how you can conduct research, of course, by talking to people within that industry, getting to the salary survey site, so that you're able to get information on how that particular organization pay for that job. So also never get to an interview, then when you ask that question, you begin to say, I'll work with the company's budget. No. You really have to attach a value to yourself at any particular time. So by asking this question, well, the employee is also able to really tell if you're someone who is self-aware, because this question tests self-awareness. If you understand your value, if you understand this role and the value that this role brings in that organization, if you understand the market range and what the market pays, and most importantly, and as I've already said, if you understand the extra value that your skill set will bring to the organization, so then that will help you in the negotiation. And again, importantly, as I end this point, is on you need to think beyond the financial, or think beyond the base pay. and consider other benefits that will come with this role. Question number 6 that most people find difficult to answer is, tell us one weakness, or what is your greatest weakness? I think this is a very common question, and why people will find difficult to answer is because nobody would like to speak about their weakness. Really, nobody would like to speak about something that will like to disadvantage them, especially in a job interview. So this question also tests if you are self-aware. Like, if you're really self-aware, you know yourself, then you'll be able to speak about your weaknesses, and you'll be able to speak about them boldly. So then when answering this question, you need to be authentic and give a true weakness that you have. So how you need to give this weakness is that this weakness might be a skill that you have, but should not be relevant to the job that you're being interviewed for. So let's say if you're maybe being interviewed for a job that really needs focus and concentration, then giving a weakness like multitasking, which in another job will be an essential or a good skill. Giving an example like multitasking would be a great way to express a weakness, because if a job needs a keen focus, or really needs you to focus on one thing at a go, and you speak about multitasking, then it comes out as a weakness. It also seeks the level of honesty, if you are honest and if you're willing to improve, because you'll only speak about your weakness if you're honest and you're willing to work on it. So just tips on how to answer, guys. I've already said you need to be honest, be very honest, give a real weakness that you're struggling with, but which in your life is a skill, though not relevant to the job that you're being interviewed for. Don't fabricate, or don't lie, and never say that you do not have a weakness, because we are all human beings. We all have our weaknesses. The beauty is being able to identify a skill that you have but is not essential to the role, and is a true weakness that you have, and mention how you've been able to counter, or what you're doing about it, so that it does not hinder your performance or delivery on the job. And it also does not hinder how you work with people. You're working with people. So showing how you've been able to improve and how you've been able to cope with it, and what you're doing to ensure that it does not affect your relationship and your work, is a plus. So for this series, guys, the last question that most people find answering this difficult is, how do you deal with repetitive tasks? I think most people don't like repetitive tasks, for the fact that they are boring, and when work becomes boring, honestly, you lose the motivation. So one reason that this question is always asked in process-driven jobs or process-driven roles that follow a particular process year in, year out. You see those things, like you can actually be able to tell how your work will look like the following day, even before you get to work. So it is asked, especially in roles where candidates or people leave a lot, where there's a lot of turnover due to a repetitive process. So the way you need to approach this question is, maybe the way you don't need to approach it, what you should not say or how you should not approach it, is getting into an interview and beginning to say that maybe you hate repetitive tasks, they are boring, they make you bored. So how you need to embrace and how you need to answer this question is showing benefits of a repetitive task, showing how beneficial a repetitive task can be. Of course, there are benefits of a repetitive task. For instance, an example that you can give, or a benefit that you can mention, is that when you do one thing repetitively, and honestly speaking, when you do one thing repetitively, you're able to hone your skill in that. You're actually able to become a master. So that means when you become a master, you're able to reduce the time that you complete a task. So then that means efficiency is improved. Again, if you're doing a repetitive task, you're able to produce quality, because it is really something that you understand, and you're able to deliver quality and really have a good output. Another thing, if you're doing a repetitive task and you've become a master in it, you're able to detect errors or foresee problems that are able to come, because you really understand, you've understood the process, which is a plus. So then if you're able to do a repetitive task well, then you stand a chance of getting that job by being positive about it, showing showing how you can be able to turn something that maybe is perceived as a problem to an advantage, or to benefit the company by improving efficiency, delivering within a very short time, improving the quality, and of course you're able to really tell if should there be a problem in the process. And again, maybe even as you close, you can give an example of how you've handled repetitive tasks before. That brings us to the end of our 7 most difficult questions for today's video, and I'll be making the 3rd video on this series again, so please watch out for that video as well. And guys, if you've not subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing, and also consider watching my previous videos so you're able to actually join and become part of this community. So if you've not yet subscribed, consider clicking that subscribe button, because it's gonna be a good time for you to join this community where we are all about learning and improving ourselves. So thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one.